There comes a time in every person's life when they look around and feel lost. The lights may be on, the streets full of people, the world buzzing with activity, and yet inside there's a silence, a hollow space no one else can see. You might be walking through school, working a job, raising a family, or chasing a dream, and still feel like something is missing. The truth is, many are alive, but not truly living. They are surviving, not thriving. They are searching for something they can't quite name. That, my friends, is what it means to be lost in life. We chase after money, thinking it will bring security. We chase after success, thinking it will give us worth. We pursue relationships, hoping they will fill the ache inside, and yet, time and time again, we come up empty. That's because you can't fill a spiritual need with material things. You can't find your way with a broken compass. There is a longing in the human heart that nothing in this world can satisfy. Not fame, not fortune, not even family. That longing points us to something greater, something beyond ourselves. Some of you may feel like you've wandered too far. You've made choices you regret. You've walked down roads you never thought you would. You look at your life and wonder, how did I get here? And the guilt, the shame, the confusion, it all becomes a heavy weight on your soul. You may smile on the outside, but inside you're crying for help. But I'm here to tell you today, you are not alone and you are not beyond hope. You see, the problem isn't that we feel lost. The problem is we try to find our own way back. We think if we just work harder, do better, try more, we can fix it. But that's like a blind man trying to read a map. We were never meant to navigate this life alone. We were made for a relationship, one that gives direction, identity, and peace. The one who made you knows you. He sees you even when no one else does. And he's not waiting for you to clean up your life before you come to him. He's waiting for you to come as you are. Some of you have been searching for a long time. You've tried religion, philosophy, self-help, distraction, but none of it has brought lasting peace. That's because what you're searching for isn't a system or a feeling. It's a savior, the one who left the 99 to go after the one. The one who looked down the road every day, waiting for the lost son to come home. The one who doesn't just give directions. He is asterisk the way. There's a voice calling out to you today, not in anger, not in judgment, but in love. A voice that says, come home, you don't have to be lost anymore. You were made for more than this world can offer. You were made to walk in light, not stumble in darkness. You don't have to have all the answers. You just have to take the first step. That step begins with surrender, not weakness, but trust. Trust that you are not an accident. Trust that your life has purpose. Trust that there is grace deeper than your mistakes, love stronger than your fears, and hope bigger than your doubts. So if you feel lost in life, know this. There is a path home, and you don't have to walk it alone. The invitation is open. The door is still unlocked. Come as you are, and find the life you were always meant to live. Feeling lost is something nearly everyone experiences at some point in their lives. It is a deeply human condition, woven into the fabric of our existence. No matter who we are, where we come from, or what we have achieved, there will be moments when the path ahead seems unclear, when the destination feels distant or unknown, and when the compass that usually guides us spins without direction. This sense of being lost can be unsettling and confusing, often stirring up feelings of fear, loneliness, and despair. But understanding that feeling lost is a common experience can bring comfort and hope. It reminds us that we are not alone in our struggle, and that this season, like many others, is part of a larger story. To feel lost means more than simply not knowing where you are physically. It touches something deeper within the human heart. It speaks of a spiritual and emotional disorientation, a disconnect from purpose and meaning. This kind of lostness can happen in any area of life: relationships, career, faith, identity, or personal dreams. You might find yourself at a crossroads, unsure which direction to take. Or you might be moving forward in life, yet still feel like you are wandering in a fog, unable to see clearly or find your footing. One reason this feeling is so common is because life itself is complex and ever-changing. The world we live in is full of uncertainties. Circumstances shift unexpectedly, jobs end, relationships break down, health falters, dreams change. Even when life seems to be going well, the pressure to succeed, to find fulfillment, and to live up to expectations can create an internal conflict that leaves us feeling lost. The pace of modern life, with its constant distractions and demands, often drowns out the quiet voice within that longs for peace and clarity. Moreover, the human heart is created with a profound need for purpose. We are not simply here by chance. We are made for something greater than just existing day to day. When that sense of purpose is obscured or feels unreachable, it can feel like wandering in a vast wilderness without a map or guide. This is the spiritual lostness many experience, an awareness that there is more to life than what meets the eye, yet not knowing how to find it. This experience is not a sign of weakness or failure. Rather, it is part of the human condition, a place where many have stood before us. Throughout history, countless individuals have wrestled with the same questions. Why am I here? What is my life for? Where do I belong? Feeling lost can even be the starting point of transformation. It can awaken a deeper search for meaning and lead to discovery and renewal. When someone feels lost, it is often because they are searching for something more than what the world can offer. We try to fill the emptiness with various things: success, relationships, possessions, recognition. But these things, while good in their place, cannot satisfy the deepest hunger of the soul. There is a longing inside every person for connection, for love, for acceptance, for a life that truly matters. Without addressing this hunger, no amount of achievement or pleasure will quiet the restlessness within. Feeling lost can also be a moment of profound vulnerability. It exposes our limitations, our need for guidance and support. It calls us to humility, to admit that we don't have all the answers and that we need help. For some, this is a difficult step because it means surrendering control and trusting in something beyond themselves. But this surrender can become the doorway to hope and direction. It's important to recognize that feeling lost does not mean you have to stay lost. The darkness you feel is not permanent. There is always a way forward, even when it seems hidden. Many have found their way out of the wilderness by seeking truth, opening their hearts to hope, and trusting in a power greater than themselves. This power is not distant or indifferent, but personal and loving, ready to guide, comfort, and restore. In the midst of feeling lost, you can begin by acknowledging your pain and your need. It's okay to admit that you are struggling and uncertain. You don't have to pretend that everything is fine. Being honest about your feelings is the first step toward healing. Then open yourself to the possibility that you are not alone in your journey. Others have walked this path and found light at the end of the tunnel. One of the greatest gifts you can give yourself when you feel lost is time. Time to listen, to reflect, to pray, to seek. In the quiet moments, away from the noise of the world, you can begin to hear a still small voice calling you back to your true self and your true purpose. This voice invites you to come out of the shadows of confusion and step into the light of understanding and peace. Feeling lost also invites us to reevaluate what matters most. It asks us to let go of false hopes and empty pursuits, and to focus on what is eternal and unchanging. When you begin to look beyond temporary things and place your trust in something that will never fail, your heart begins to find rest, your steps gain confidence, and your direction becomes clearer. Remember, feeling lost is not the end of the story. It is a chapter in the journey. It can lead to growth, new insight, and a deeper relationship with the source of true life and hope. No matter how dark or confusing your current path may seem, there is a light that shines in the darkness, a light that no darkness can overcome. It is the light that calls you home. So if you find yourself lost, know this: you are part of a larger human experience. You are not forgotten, not forsaken. There is a hand reaching out to you, ready to guide you back to a place of peace and purpose. The feeling of being lost can become the beginning of a new and beautiful journey, one where you discover who you really are and the incredible life you were meant to live. Throughout life, many people pursue what the world values most: success, wealth, status, pleasure, and approval. We are constantly told that these things will bring happiness, fulfillment, and meaning. Yet, for many, the pursuit of these worldly desires leaves an aching emptiness that no achievement or possession can fill. There is a spiritual void inside the human heart, a hunger that cannot be satisfied by material things or fleeting pleasures. This emptiness points to a deeper need, a longing for something eternal and true. The truth is that worldly pursuits can never fully satisfy the soul because they address only the surface, not the deeper spiritual reality within us. When you look at the world, it is easy to be captivated by what it offers. Money promises security and freedom. Success promises respect and influence. Pleasure promises joy and excitement. Relationships promise love and companionship. None of these things are wrong in themselves. Indeed, they can be good and even beautiful parts of life. But when they become the ultimate goal, when our hearts are tied to these things above all else, they become like chasing the wind, never quite catching what we truly need. Many people spend their whole lives running after these things, hoping that the next promotion, the next purchase, or the next experience will bring them the satisfaction they crave. But even when they achieve their goals, they often find themselves asking, "Is this all there is?" The momentary joy fades, the newness wears off, and the old emptiness returns. The problem is not that they have too little, but that they are looking for fulfillment in the wrong places. The spiritual void is not something physical that can be fixed with more possessions or achievements. It is a deep hunger for connection with something greater than ourselves. It is a longing for meaning that goes beyond temporary success or pleasure. This need is placed within us by design. We were created to live in relationship with God, with others, and with ourselves. When these relationships are broken or neglected, the emptiness grows. Worldly pursuits often distract us from this deeper need. The busyness of life, the race to acquire more, the desire to be admired or accepted, these can all become barriers that keep us from facing the truth about our spiritual hunger. We might try to ignore the emptiness by filling our time with work, entertainment, or social media, but the void remains. No amount of external satisfaction can quiet the internal longing. Many famous people have spoken openly about this struggle. They have achieved fame and fortune, yet still felt a profound emptiness inside. This is a reminder that worldly success is no guarantee of inner peace. The rich, the powerful, the admired, none are exempt from the spiritual hunger that every human experiences. In fact, sometimes having everything the world can offer only highlights the emptiness more clearly. The reason worldly pursuits cannot fill the spiritual void is because they are temporary and finite. Money can be lost, success can be taken away, pleasure fades, people disappoint. When we base our hope on things that are unstable, we set ourselves up for disappointment. The soul longs for something unchanging, something eternal, something that no circumstance can take away. The answer to this hunger is not found in more things, but in a restored relationship with the Creator, the source of life and love. When we turn away from chasing temporary things and turn toward God, we begin to discover the peace and purpose that the world cannot provide. God created us with the capacity to know Him, to love Him, and to be loved by Him. This relationship fills the spiritual void with something real and lasting. Faith is not just a belief in ideas or doctrines. It is a living connection with a personal God who knows us intimately and loves us unconditionally. When we experience this love, it changes everything. The emptiness begins to be replaced by joy, hope, and meaning. Our priorities shift from accumulating things to growing in love and service. Our lives take on a new purpose that goes beyond ourselves. This does not mean that life becomes perfect or free from difficulty. In fact, trusting in God can sometimes bring challenges because it calls us to surrender control and live by a higher standard. But it does mean that, no matter what happens, there is a foundation that cannot be shaken. When the world around us changes or falls apart, this foundation remains steady. The spiritual void also reveals itself in our search for identity. Many people try to define themselves by what they do, what they own, or how others see them. But these external labels are fragile and fleeting. True identity comes from knowing who we are in God's eyes. We are loved, valued, and created with a unique purpose. When we anchor our identity in this truth, the need to prove ourselves through worldly success diminishes. Worldly pursuits can even become idols, things we worship or put before God. This can happen subtly when money, career, or relationships become the center of our lives instead of God. Idolatry leads to bondage because it enslaves us to things that cannot satisfy. Freedom comes when we turn from these false hopes and embrace the true source of life. The spiritual void can also be a place of great vulnerability. It exposes our fears, our doubts, and our need for grace. Many people resist acknowledging this emptiness because it is uncomfortable to admit that they are searching for something deeper. But it is in this honesty that healing begins. When we bring our emptiness to God, He meets us there with compassion and mercy. This meeting transforms the spiritual void into a place of growth and renewal. It is like a broken heart that opens the way for love to enter. It is a hunger that leads us to seek and find the bread of life, the living water that satisfies forever. This journey from emptiness to fullness is the greatest adventure anyone can take. The world will continue to offer its pleasures and promises, but they will never fully satisfy the soul. The spiritual void remains until it is filled with God's presence and love. This is why Jesus said, "Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled." It is a promise that the deepest longings of the heart can be satisfied, not by the world, but by God. In practical terms, this means turning away from the endless pursuit of worldly things and turning toward a life rooted in faith, hope, and love. It means seeking God through prayer, reading scripture, worship, and community. It means allowing God to shape our values and desires so that they align with His will. As we do this, the spiritual void gradually fills with the peace that surpasses understanding. This filling does not happen overnight. It is a lifelong journey of growing closer to God and learning to live by His truth. There will still be moments of struggle, doubt, and feeling lost. But even in those moments, the presence of God offers a steady light. The emptiness that once consumed us is replaced by a quiet assurance that we are known, loved, and held. In the end, the spiritual void points us to the heart of the gospel message, that God came to meet us in our emptiness, to fill our deepest needs through Jesus Christ. He took on our brokenness and offers us new life. This is the only thing that can truly fill the spiritual void. It is an invitation to come as we are, with all our doubts and fears, and find in Him the fullness of joy and purpose. No matter how much the world tries to convince us otherwise, we were made for more than the temporary and the shallow. The soul's deepest hunger can only be satisfied by the eternal and the true. Worldly pursuits can never fill the spiritual void, but God's love can. And when we receive that love, we discover a life that is rich, meaningful, and everlasting. There is a truth that lies at the very heart of the human experience, one that brings light to the darkest corners of despair. No one is beyond hope or redemption. This is a message that transcends time, culture, and circumstance. It is a truth that offers peace to the weary, strength to the broken, and a future to those who feel forgotten or cast aside. No matter how far someone has fallen, no matter the mistakes they have made, no matter the pain they carry, hope is still alive and redemption is still possible. Many people live under the heavy burden of guilt, shame, or regret. They look back on choices that hurt themselves or others and believe they are too far gone to be forgiven or restored. This sense of hopelessness can imprison a person's heart, leading them into isolation and despair. They may think that their past defines them, that the mistakes they have made mark the end of their story, but this is not the truth. The past does not have to control the future. The darkness does not have to have the final word. Hope is a powerful force because it defies the finality of failure. It whispers to the soul that no matter how broken or lost a person may feel, there is a way back. Redemption is the process by which that hope becomes reality, a journey from brokenness to healing, from shame to freedom, from death to life. It is not reserved for the perfect or the deserving. It is offered freely to all who will receive it. The idea that no one is beyond redemption is found deeply rooted in many of the world's greatest stories and traditions. In countless accounts, the ones who seemed most lost were often the ones who found the greatest restoration. The outcasts, the sinners, the ones who made terrible mistakes. These individuals were not written off but invited back into the fold. Their stories tell us that change is possible, that transformation is real, and that the human heart can be renewed. Redemption begins with the recognition of one's need. It starts when a person looks honestly at their life and acknowledges their brokenness and their limitations. This can be a painful step because it means admitting failure and surrendering pride. But it is also a freeing step because it opens the door to grace. When we stop pretending we are okay, when we admit we need help, we open ourselves to the possibility of healing. Hope and redemption are not about excusing wrong actions or ignoring consequences. True redemption involves facing the truth, taking responsibility, and making a deliberate turn away from destructive paths. It is a commitment to change, not just a wish for things to be different. But even in this commitment, no one is left to walk alone. There is a source of strength far greater than ourselves that empowers and sustains us on this journey. Many who have experienced redemption testify that it is not something they could achieve by their own effort. It is a gift, a new beginning given by a loving and merciful God. This God does not keep a ledger of mistakes to punish, but offers a hand extended in mercy and grace. He sees beyond our failures to the potential for new life within us. This divine mercy invites us to rise, to try again, and to live in freedom rather than bondage. Hope fuels perseverance. When a person believes they can be redeemed, they find the courage to face their past and the strength to build a new future. This hope is not naive or blind optimism. It is rooted in a promise that renewal is possible even in the bleakest circumstances. It is a light shining in the darkness, guiding the lost toward restoration. Redemption also brings healing to relationships. It repairs what has been broken, restores trust where it has been lost, and mends the wounds of division. When we understand that no one is beyond hope, we begin to see others with compassion rather than judgment. We offer forgiveness instead of condemnation, knowing that we too are in need of mercy. Sometimes the journey of redemption is slow and challenging. There are setbacks and struggles along the way. change requires patience, humility, and grace, both from ourselves and from others. But every step forward is a victory, every moment of growth a testimony to the power of hope. This truth applies to everyone, regardless of their background, past, or present circumstances. It applies to the person who has made small mistakes and to the one who has fallen into deep despair. It applies to those who feel lost in addiction, broken families, or failure. No one is excluded from the possibility of a new beginning. In fact, it is often those who feel most unworthy who experience the most profound redemption. Because when a person realizes that even they are not beyond hope, it ignites a fire within their soul. They begin to believe that life can be better, that they can be better, and that their story is not over. This message of hope and redemption is not just for the individual. It has the power to transform communities and societies. When people embrace forgiveness, mercy, and restoration, broken systems can begin to heal. Cycles of violence, hatred, and despair can be broken. The world becomes a place where second chances are real and life is valued. To live in hope is to live in freedom. It frees us from the chains of guilt and shame that weigh heavily on the spirit. It frees us from the fear that we are defined by our worst moments. It frees us to step into the light of a new day, with the confidence that no matter what has happened, there is a future filled with possibility. No one is beyond hope or redemption because love is greater than sin, grace is stronger than failure, and mercy triumphs over judgment. This is the message that has brought healing to countless lives throughout history and continues to do so today. It is a message of invitation, a call to come as you are with all your brokenness and pain and to be made whole. The journey of redemption is a journey back to life itself. It is a journey toward wholeness, peace, and joy. It is the hope that no matter how dark the night, the dawn will come. And when it does, it brings with it the promise of a new beginning for every heart willing to believe. So, if you are carrying the weight of past mistakes or feeling trapped by your failures, know this: you are not beyond hope. You are not beyond redemption. There is a love that reaches deeper than your brokenness, a mercy that covers every fault, and a power that can make all things new. Your story is not finished. There is hope for you yet. At the core of every human being lies a profound truth. We were created for a relationship with our Creator. This is not merely a philosophical idea or a religious teaching. It is the foundation of our very existence. To understand who we are and why we live, we must first recognize that we are made by a loving God who desires to be known, to be loved, and to be in fellowship with us. Our lives are not random or accidental. They are the result of intentional design, a divine purpose that centers on relationship. From the beginning of time, the Creator fashioned humanity in His own image. This is a remarkable and humbling reality. Unlike the rest of creation, humans are uniquely made with the capacity for connection, both with God and with one another. We were designed to reflect His character, to walk in communion with Him, and to share in His life. This relationship is not one-sided or distant. It is meant to be intimate, personal, and transformative. When we consider the story of creation, we see that God did not make us to live apart from Him. In the earliest moments, the first humans walked and talked with God in a garden of peace and harmony. There was no fear, no shame, no separation, only fellowship and love. This original design reveals that relationship with God is essential to what it means to be truly human. Our souls long for this connection because it is woven into the very fabric of our being. However, something happened that changed this perfect relationship. The choice was made to turn away, to go our own way, and to reject the Creator's guidance. This act of rebellion fractured the fellowship and introduced brokenness into the world. Since then, humanity has struggled with separation from God, and this separation is the root cause of many struggles: loneliness, emptiness, confusion, and despair. Without a relationship with our Creator, life loses its meaning and purpose. Despite this brokenness, the desire for relationship remains deeply embedded in every heart. We search for connection in many ways, through friendships, family, careers, hobbies, and achievements. But these cannot fully satisfy the soul's deepest need. This is because these relationships, though valuable, are reflections of a greater truth. Our ultimate connection is meant to be with God Himself. When we experience a genuine relationship with our Creator, we find the fulfillment and peace that the world cannot offer. The Creator's invitation to relationship is an invitation to life itself. To know God is to discover the source of all wisdom, love, and joy. It is to come into the light where we are fully known and yet fully accepted. God's love is not conditional or based on our performance. It is a love that pursues us relentlessly, even when we stray. This love restores and renews, healing the wounds caused by separation. This relationship is also one of dialogue and response. God speaks to us through His Word, through prayer, through the world around us, and through the gentle promptings of the Spirit. We are called to listen and to respond, to grow in understanding and trust. This ongoing interaction shapes our character, guides our decisions, and aligns our lives with His purpose. Living in relationship with our Creator brings transformation. It changes how we see ourselves and how we see others. We begin to understand that we are deeply valued, not because of what we do, but because of who we are in God's eyes. This understanding frees us from the need for approval from others and grounds our identity in something eternal. It also empowers us to love and serve others selflessly, reflecting the love we have received. The Creator's relationship with us is not distant or impersonal. It is described as a father's love, a shepherd's care, a friend's companionship. This imagery helps us grasp the closeness and tenderness of the bond we were made for. God is not a far-off deity, but a present help, a constant companion who walks beside us through every trial and joy. Moreover, this relationship is inclusive and available to all. No matter who you are, where you come from, or what you have done, the invitation stands. The Creator desires to restore the broken fellowship and bring every person into the fullness of life. This is the hope that sustains the weary and the lost, the promise that no one is outside the reach of divine love. The human heart is restless until it finds rest in the Creator. This rest is not just a feeling of relaxation, but a deep, abiding peace that comes from knowing we belong. It is a peace that carries us through life's storms, a joy that cannot be taken away by circumstances. This relationship is the source of true happiness and the anchor for our souls. In practical terms, living in relationship with the Creator means cultivating habits that nurture this connection. Prayer, meditation, reading Scripture, worship, and fellowship with others who seek God. These practices open our hearts and minds to God's presence and guidance. They help us align our will with His and develop a character shaped by love, humility, and grace. Relationship with the Creator also calls us to live with purpose. When we know that we are made for more than ourselves, our lives take on new meaning. We begin to see our talents, time, and resources as gifts to be used for a greater good. This perspective shifts our focus from self-centered ambitions to a life of service and stewardship. Sometimes the journey into this relationship is not easy. Doubts, fears, and questions arise. There may be seasons of feeling distant or disconnected, but these moments are part of the growth process. God's faithfulness remains constant, and His love never fails. Even when we falter, the invitation to come back and be restored stands open. In a world filled with noise, distractions, and competing demands, the call to relationship with our Creator is more urgent than ever. It is an anchor in the shifting sands of life, a source of truth in a sea of confusion. When we embrace this relationship, we discover our true identity and our true home. Ultimately, the relationship we were created for is the key to a life that is whole, abundant, and eternal. It is the foundation on which everything else is built. Without it, life feels incomplete and uncertain. With it, we find joy that endures, hope that sustains, and love that transforms. So, if you have been searching for meaning, peace, or purpose, remember this: you were made for a relationship with your Creator. This relationship is not distant or inaccessible. It is close and personal. It is a relationship of love, grace, and hope, waiting for you to step into it and discover the fullness of life that God has prepared for you. Your soul's deepest longing can be satisfied, your identity secured, and your life forever changed by embracing this divine fellowship. Life often feels like a journey filled with twists and turns, moments of joy and times of pain, times of certainty and seasons of confusion. Many of us wander through this journey carrying the weight of past mistakes, broken relationships, regrets, and a deep longing for a place where we truly belong, a place of safety, acceptance, and love. This place is often described as home, not just in a physical sense, but in the deepest spiritual sense. And the beautiful truth is that there is an open invitation to come home, an invitation extended to every person, regardless of their past or present condition. The idea of coming home carries with it profound meaning because home is where we find rest. It is the place where our true identity is recognized, where our hearts can be at peace, and where we are fully accepted for who we are. Many people spend their lives searching for this kind of home, trying to fill their emptiness through relationships, careers, achievements, or possessions. But no matter how much they gather or how far they run, the longing for home remains because it is ultimately a spiritual yearning. This invitation to come home is not limited by time, status, or circumstance. It is a constant and open call that reaches out to everyone. It does not matter if you feel lost, broken, or unworthy. This invitation is for you. The home being offered is a place of unconditional love, forgiveness, and restoration. It is a refuge where your mistakes are not held against you and where your past does not define your future. Throughout history, many have experienced this invitation. It is a recurring theme in stories and traditions that speak to the human heart. The image of a loving father waiting for his wayward child to return, the promise of a welcoming embrace after a long separation, the hope of a place where brokenness is healed. All these images point to the reality of a God who longs to welcome us home. The invitation is open because love is patient and persistent. It does not give up or close the door when we stumble. Instead, it waits with open arms, ready to receive us just as we are. This kind of love is rare in the world because it does not depend on our performance or perfection. It is a love that sees beyond our flaws and calls us back into relationship. To accept this invitation means to take a step of faith. It means acknowledging that we cannot find true peace or belonging on our own. It means turning away from the paths that have led to emptiness and stepping toward the one who offers new life. This decision can be difficult because it requires humility, surrender, and trust, but it is also the beginning of a journey toward healing and wholeness. Coming home also means experiencing forgiveness. For many, the hardest barrier to acceptance is the burden of guilt and shame. We carry memories of wrong choices, hurtful words, and broken relationships that weigh heavily on our hearts. But the open invitation to come home comes with the promise that all these things can be forgiven. There is a cleansing power that can wash away the stains of the past and make us new. This forgiveness is not earned but given freely. It is a gift that restores dignity and opens the door to a fresh start. When we accept it, we no longer have to live under the shadow of our mistakes. Instead, we can walk forward with confidence, knowing that we are loved and accepted. The invitation to come home also brings with it the gift of peace. Life's challenges, fears, and uncertainties can leave us restless and anxious. But when we enter into the safety of this home, we find a peace that surpasses understanding. This peace is not the absence of difficulty, but the presence of a steadfast love that carries us through every storm. In this home, we find belonging. Many people feel isolated, disconnected, or rejected. They long to be part of something greater, to be known and valued. The invitation to come home includes an invitation into community, a family where we are accepted and cared for. Here, we discover that we are not alone, that others walk the same path and support us along the way. Coming home is also about purpose. When we respond to this invitation, we discover that we were created for more than just survival or self-interest. We are invited to participate in a life of meaning, to live out the love and grace we have received by serving others and making a difference in the world. This sense of purpose brings fulfillment and joy that the world cannot provide. The journey home is not always easy or immediate. Sometimes it involves a process of healing, growth, and learning to trust again. There may be setbacks and doubts along the way, but the invitation remains open, steady, and sure, calling us back no matter how far we stray. This open invitation is a source of hope for the hopeless and a light for those in darkness. It reminds us that no matter how far we have wandered, we are never beyond the reach of love and restoration. It calls us to leave behind the burdens that weigh us down and to step into the freedom and joy of belonging. Ultimately, this invitation is the greatest gift anyone can receive. It is the promise that we are not alone in our struggles, that we are deeply loved, and that there is a place where we can truly be ourselves. It is the hope that every person can come home to a life filled with peace, purpose, and love. So if you find yourself feeling lost, broken, or weary, remember that the invitation to come home is open for you. The door is not closed, and the welcome is warm. There is a home waiting for you, one where you will be accepted, forgiven, and cherished. Take that step of faith and come home. Your true place of belonging awaits.